There is a question that has probably been haunting you for a while, though you may not speak it aloud. Why does he keep coming back? Why, after all the silence, after all the times you've promised yourself that you're done, does he return, as if drawn by a thread you cannot see? Maybe you've asked yourself if it's love. Maybe you've wondered if it's just convenience. Or maybe you've been too exhausted to ask at all, too worn out by the cycle of leaving and returning, closeness and distance, tenderness and coldness. And yet, beneath all of this, there is something silent, something unspoken, that pulls him back to you. I want you to imagine this for a moment. Picture yourself sitting in a quiet room at night, your phone face down on the table. You don't send him a message. You don't post something to make him notice. You don't chase. And still, as if guided by some invisible compass, he appears again. A text, a call, a knock at your door. He returns. That silent move, the one you don't even realize you're making, is what draws him in. It isn't your effort. It isn't the times you reached out. It's the stillness, the absence, the part of you that lets go just enough to create space he cannot resist stepping into. Carl Jung once said that what we don't make conscious will return as fate. And maybe this is what is happening here. A hidden pattern, older than you, older than him. Something written in the silence of your childhood, in the spaces where love was uncertain, where presence was inconsistent. You learned that silence wasn't just silence, it was survival. And now, without even meaning to, that same silence becomes the very thing that pulls him back. There is no accident in the way people are drawn to us. He isn't just coming back because of you, nor is it only about him. It's the unspoken conversation between two souls carrying their wounds into the present moment. He senses something he cannot name in you, a depth, a gravity, an unresolved echo, and he keeps circling back because part of him is looking for what he lost long ago. And you, in turn, allow it because somewhere inside, you too are searching for a familiar shape of love, even if it hurts. But here's the truth that might unsettle you. The power you hold is not in chasing, not in pleading, not in proving your worth. The power is in the silence, in the way you step back and let the invisible thread tighten until he can no longer ignore its pull. This is why he keeps coming back. Not because you beg, not because you try, but because you don't. If you've ever found yourself caught in this cycle, wondering why it feels so hard to break free, you are not alone. Many of us are living out patterns we never consciously chose, repeating them again and again, until we finally see them for what they are. And maybe, just maybe, tonight will be the night you begin to see yours differently. If you feel this message reaching into your own life, take a breath here. Stay with me, because what we're about to explore might shift the way you see not only him but yourself. And if this resonates, if you've ever wanted to be seen so deeply that words fall short, then I invite you to stay, to subscribe, to share this space with me. Because this isn't just a video, it's a mirror. He keeps coming back because silence speaks louder than words ever could. You see, silence isn't just the absence of sound, it is presence, distilled. It is the pause where truth waits, where longing hums like a low note in the background of your life. And when you do not chase him, when you do not fill the air with demands, explanations, or desperate proofs of love, he feels that silence in his bones. He feels the weight of it pressing against his chest, and in that emptiness, he cannot help but remember you. But here's what few people realize. Silence is not always weakness. It is not surrender. Sometimes it is the most powerful move you can make. You might think that by stepping back, by not fighting for him, you are losing. But to him, your quiet withdrawal unsettles something deep within. He feels the absence of your voice, your laughter, your energy. He begins to notice the hollow where you used to stand. And suddenly, it is not you chasing love, it is him chasing the echo of your absence. There is a reason for this, one carved into human memory long before you or he ever met. From childhood, we learn to equate love with the rhythms of presence and absence. Maybe your love was given in pieces, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. Maybe you learned early that the ones you needed most could vanish in an instant, and so you adapted. You learned how to wait, how to hold your breath in the silence, hoping they would come back. That skill, though born from pain, becomes a quiet magnet in adulthood. Without meaning to, you carry it into your relationships. And men, often driven by the hunger to conquer or to be needed, find themselves powerless in the face of it. They may not understand why, but they return, again and again, pulled toward what feels like mystery. And yet, I know what you're thinking. If silence is so powerful, why does it hurt so much to wait in it? Why does it feel like a punishment to hold back words that are burning in your chest? The answer is simple but not easy. Silence hurts because it confronts you with your own emptiness. It forces you to sit with the ache you've been running from, the ache of being left, the ache of not being chosen fully, the ache of wanting more than someone is willing to give. It is not just about him, it is about you. And your silence is not only calling him back, it is calling you back to yourself. The question you must ask is this: do you want him to return because he cannot bear your absence? Or do you want him to stay because he chooses you fully and freely? There is a difference. One is survival, the other is love, and too often, we confuse the two. He keeps coming back because your silence makes him feel the shadow of losing you. But here is the paradox: when you no longer fear the silence yourself, when you no longer use it as a tool to lure him back, but instead embrace it as a sacred space for your own healing, that is when you find your true power. Because then, his return will no longer be the measure of your worth. It will simply be a choice, and you will be free to make your own. Take a breath here. Let this settle. Feel the weight of the silence inside you. It is not empty. It is full of answers you have been avoiding. Stay with me, because the deeper we go, the more clearly you will see why he keeps circling back, and what it means for your own healing. He comes back because your silence unsettles the very part of him that never learned how to sit with his own emptiness. You may think he returns because of love, or because he's finally realized your worth, but often it is something more primal. When you do not call, when you do not explain, when you do not beg, you leave him face to face with his own loneliness. And in that quiet, he feels the sting of it. He feels the void. You become the answer to a question he doesn't even know how to ask. Why do I feel so restless when she is gone? There's a strange power in not moving, in letting silence wrap itself around you. Because while you may be hurting inside, while you may be wondering if he even thinks of you, the truth is he does. He thinks of you precisely because you have not filled his ears with your voice. You have not soothed his guilt with your presence. You have not distracted him from himself. And without those things, he cannot escape the quiet realization that he misses what you once gave. But let's look deeper, beyond him. Because this story is not only about his return, it's about the part of you that waits for it. The girl you once were, sitting on the edge of a bed, waiting for a parent to walk through the door, waiting for the sound of footsteps in the hallway, waiting for the love you needed, but couldn't always count on. She learned to stay quiet, to wait, to believe that if she just stayed still long enough, someone would come back for her. That girl lives inside you still, and every time he disappears, every time he reappears, she is the one who feels it most. She is the one who clings to the thread of hope. Maybe this time, he'll stay. And isn't that what makes the cycle so intoxicating? The way absence sharpens desire, the way silence magnifies the return. It creates a kind of high, a rush, a relief. But here's the painful truth. What returns out of emptiness often leaves the same way. He may keep coming back, but does he ever stay long enough to meet you fully? Or is his return just another loop in a pattern that leaves you spinning? Silence, though powerful, is not a guarantee. It can call him back, yes, but it cannot change who he is or what he is ready to give. What it can change is you. Each time you sit in that quiet space, you have a choice. Will you wait for him to knock at the door again, or will you listen to what silence is trying to whisper to you? That you are more than someone's return, that you deserve more than the echo of footsteps coming and going, that your worth is not tied to who cannot let you go, but to who chooses you even when you are silent, even when you ask for nothing. And I know this is hard to hear, because silence feels safer when it leads to his return. It feels like proof that you matter, that you are unforgettable. But safety built on his absence is no safety at all. It's a fragile thread, one that can snap at any moment. The deeper safety lies in turning that silence inward, in letting it become a sanctuary for your healing, a place where you learn to return to yourself. So when he comes back again, and he likely will pause before opening the door, breathe before answering the call, And ask yourself, do I want him back because he fills the silence, or because he brings me peace? That question will change everything. He keeps coming back, but each time he does, it leaves you standing at the same crossroad, relief on one side, ache on the other. There is that rush when his name lights up your phone, when you hear his voice after days or weeks of absence. For a moment, your chest softens. You tell yourself, maybe this time is different. You let yourself believe in the promise between his words, even if it's never spoken out loud. But then, when the dust settles, when the conversation ends, when you're alone again, you feel it. The unease, the familiar tug that whispers, you've been here before. Why is this so hard to break? Because it isn't just about him. It's about what he awakens in you. The cycle of leaving and returning scratches at an old wound, the one that taught you to equate inconsistency with love. It feels like longing, but beneath it, it's survival. You wait for his return not because it's healthy, but because part of you was trained to think love means enduring uncertainty, staying quiet so you won't be abandoned, proving your worth in silence until someone finally sees you. And when he comes back, even briefly, that old wound gets just enough attention to stay open. It doesn't heal. It doesn't close. It stays raw, waiting for the next absence, the next return. The truth is, he doesn't always come back because he's ready to love you fully. He comes back because your silence unsettles his sense of control, because your stillness makes him realize he is not the center of your world, because deep down, he feels the pull of your absence more than he values the weight of your presence. That is why you need to understand this. His return is not proof of your worth. It is proof of his fear of losing what he doesn't truly hold. And your silence, the move you never realized was so powerful, is the mirror that reflects his own emptiness back at him. He keeps coming back to fill that space, but he cannot stay long, because what he is running from is not you, it's himself. But where does that leave you? Sitting in silence, again, waiting, again, hoping, again. And it is in this quiet space that the real question rises. What if I stopped making my life about his return? What if the silence that pulls him back became the silence that heals you? What if you allowed the pause to be for you, not for him? There is a part of you that knows this already. You feel it in the pit of your stomach when you answer his call, when you open the door, when you tell yourself, maybe this time. You know that the cycle is not love, it is repetition. But knowing and choosing are not the same. Choosing requires courage. Choosing means looking at the silence not as a trap to hold him, but as a place to finally hear yourself. And maybe, just maybe, the reason he keeps coming back is not so you can take him in again, but so you can finally see the pattern clearly enough to let him go. His return is not your salvation, it's your mirror. And the more you see that, the closer you come to breaking free. There's a quiet grief that no one talks about, the grief of waking up next to someone who keeps leaving, even when they're still physically there. The grief of answering a text you once longed for, only to feel hollow once the message fades. It's not the absence that hurts the most, it's the return. Because every return reminds you that he has the power to come and go as he pleases. And you stay, you wait, you hope. But your hope is tired now, isn't it? Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. It's the soul tired that comes from loving someone who keeps forgetting how to hold you. And yet, the silence is the only thing that ever brings him back. So you've come to rely on it, in a way. Not because it heals you, but because it tricks you into thinking it gives you control. He pulls away. You say nothing. He comes back. You feel wanted, but not safe. And maybe that's the most painful part of it all, feeling desired but never chosen. Being chased, but never kept. There is a difference between being someone's craving and being someone's commitment. Craving happens in the silence, in the hunger of absence. But commitment, that shows up in the noise of daily life, in the messy moments, in the hard conversations, in the choice to stay when leaving is easy, when you stop speaking, when you stop reaching, when you fold your hands and sit quietly with your heart half broken. He feels it, but not in the way you want him to. He doesn't feel remorse. He feels curiosity. He wonders what you're thinking. He wonders if you've moved on. He misses the validation, the comfort, the part of you that told him he was still wanted, even after the distance, even after the neglect. So he returns. But it's not always love that brings him back. Sometimes it's just fear of being forgotten. And here's the part no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes silence isn't strength. Sometimes it's a wound too tired to speak. A love that's grown too weary to fight. A hope that's given up asking. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You can redefine your silence. Not as a waiting room for his return, but as a place of reclamation. A space to gather the pieces of yourself you gave away too freely. You can let your quiet become the beginning of your own voice, one that doesn't need to echo off the walls of his absence to be real. He may keep coming back, but one day, you won't be there in the same way. One day, your silence will no longer be a magnet, it will be a boundary. A line drawn not in anger, but in self-respect. And when that day comes, when he shows up again and finds that the version of you who used to wait is no longer there, he will feel it. Not just in his bones, but in his soul. The same silence that once pulled him in will become the stillness that sets you free. The most powerful shift doesn't happen when he returns. It happens when you no longer flinch at his silence. When his absence no longer claws at your skin like it used to. When the space he leaves behind is no longer a wound, but a window. There is a moment subtle, quiet, when everything inside you rearranges. It doesn't come with fireworks or a grand epiphany. It arrives softly like breath, like waking up one morning and realizing you're tired, not just of him, but of the version of yourself that keeps waiting for him. The version that shrinks so he feels big, that gives so he'll feel guilty, that stays silent hoping he'll hear the ache between the words you never speak. And suddenly, you see it. He doesn't come back for you. He comes back for the part of himself he feels when he's near you. The comfort, the ease, the emotional gravity that makes him feel real. That's what he's drawn to. But he cannot stay, because staying would mean facing the parts of himself that only you reflect, and he isn't ready. Maybe he never will be. And that's the heartbreak. Not just that he leaves, but that he doesn't have the capacity to meet you, to see you, to stay with you. He can return 1,000 times and still never arrive fully. But here's where your power begins. When you finally stop mistaking his returns for love. When you stop romanticizing his inconsistency. When you stop confusing emotional hunger with connection. Because the truth is, you've always been the steady one. Even in your silence, you were the one still offering something: your presence, your forgiveness, your space. You held room for him when he didn't hold it for you. And that wasn't weakness. That was your love, raw and generous. But now, it's time to turn that love inward. Let your silence grow roots. Let it become the soil where your boundaries bloom. Not a tactic to get him back, but a choice to get you back. Because you've lost yourself in this cycle, haven't you? You've bent and softened and waited. You've watered a garden that never blossomed. You've held onto hope like it was oxygen. And now, finally, you're asking the right question, not, why does he keep coming back? But why do I keep letting him? That question is a key. It opens the door to everything you've forgotten about yourself. Your worth, your voice, your enoughness. Without him, you start to see that the most powerful move you ever made wasn't silence to lure him back, but silence that signaled your own return. Because when you stop giving him something to come back to, that's when you begin to come back to you. There's a silence that no longer waits. It doesn't lean toward the door or count the hours. It doesn't ache with questions like, will he text? Will he miss me? Will he care this time? It's not a performance. It's not a strategy. It's a full-bodied exhale that says, even if he doesn't come back, I'll still be here, and I will be whole. That silence, when it finally arrives, feels different. Not sharp, not heavy, just quiet. Not the quiet of sadness, but of clarity. You start hearing things you hadn't noticed before. The sound of your own breath, the rhythm of your own heart, the whisper of a voice inside you that had gone mute during the chase. And that voice says, I'm done bleeding for crumbs. Because you see it now, don't you? Every time he came back, he found you exactly where he left you. Still soft, still hoping, still open. And he mistook that as permission, not out of cruelty, but out of habit. Because you taught him that you would be there, that no matter how many times he disappeared, the door would still be unlocked. The light would still be on. But now, the door is closed. Not slammed, not locked in bitterness, just gently, Finally, closed. And the light that once burned for him has been turned inward. You've realized something he hasn't yet. Love isn't proved by who returns. It's revealed by who stays. And this isn't about blaming him. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. He came to you with his own wounds, his own patterns, his own fears of being seen. He kept returning because you made him feel safe without ever requiring him to be fully present. But now you require more, not as a punishment, but as a reflection of your growth. And that's what changes everything. He may still come back. Men like him often do. Drawn not by your words, but by your stillness, by the lack of need, by the unsettling realization that you are no longer orbiting him, that your world has moved on, quietly, beautifully. And if he comes back this time, he will find a different version of you. Not angry, not vengeful, just changed. And when he sees that change, when he hears the silence not as an invitation but as a farewell, he will feel it. In the space between who you were and who you've become, he will feel the loss. Because this time you're not playing the old roles. You're not sitting in the same spot. You're not giving the same access to someone who never learned to handle it gently. You are no longer waiting for him to return, because finally you have. You've returned to yourself. The most profound returns are not the ones they make to you. They are the ones you make to yourself. And now, you are returning, not with loud declarations, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with stillness, with a quiet kind of power that no longer bends to be understood, no longer softens to be accepted. A power that doesn't ask, why doesn't he see me? Because you finally do. It's strange, isn't it? The moment you stop needing them to come back is often the moment they do, as if your detachment sends out a frequency that their soul wasn't prepared to lose. As if the moment you stop trying to prove yourself, they begin to notice what they took for granted. And he will notice. He will sense that something's shifted, that the same silence that once called him in is now holding a boundary he cannot cross. And this time, when he returns, the silence will feel different to him. Not inviting, not mysterious, just closed, calm, final. He'll try to test it, maybe with a hey, maybe with a joke, maybe with a thread of nostalgia. But you won't pick it up. Not because you hate him, not because you don't still feel something, but because you have finally made peace with the truth. Love is not a tug of war. He kept coming back because the silence made him feel needed. But now your silence holds no need, no reaching, no subtle pull. It is no longer a space for him to refill his ego. It is a quiet home for your healing. And when you look at him, you won't see the same gravity. You won't feel that pull to fix, to wait, to hope. You'll feel compassion, maybe even love, but not the kind that breaks you, not the kind that costs you yourself. You'll understand why he kept returning, and you'll understand why you won't let him anymore. This is not the dramatic ending you once imagined. No door slammed, no bitter goodbye. Just a soft closing, a stillness that says, I'm not angry, I'm just done. And what's left is you. Finally, gloriously, you. The version of you that no longer needs the chase. The version of you that no longer fears the silence. The version of you that no longer performs worthiness to be kept. You are no longer the girl who waits. You are the woman who remembers, who chooses, who stays for herself.